All right. I'll let you know when we're recording. Oh, there we are. Okay. So, welcome to the Threads of Wisdom. Oh, can you grab the cards?
Yes.
Grab the cards.
I will grab the cards.
Grab the card. Grab the card.
The cards. Get the cards. The cards. Where's mine? Is my phone over there? Yeah, it is. Never mind. Thank you. All right. Awesome sauce. So, welcome to Threads of Wisdom, and we are children of the crossroads. I am, if you don't know who I am, I always like to make introductions just in case. I'm Lola. This is my high priest Silenus, and later on we'll probably have our scribe Zeta join us. And maybe we always get a few people come in late. So we're on week 19.
Yep.
That's like every time. I'm totally amazed. So just to tell you a little bit about Threads of Wisdom. The Threads of Wisdom was created by the Golden Thread Grove in Idaho. It is a teaching tool for your year-in-a-day pagan basics. Each week that you attend, you will receive an image of the topic discussed, and Golden Thread Grove has requested that these images not be distributed to anyone that has not participated in a discussion on a particular topic. And at the end of the year, you will have 52 cards that you can use as a divination tool, like I have. And we call it the Witchy Decks or the Pokédex.
The Pokedex,
Pokedex.
Of Wicca.
Wiccadex. All right. So we're going to go to our topic, and our topic today is protection. Let me get down there. So I'm going to go ahead and share the image with you all and take a look. Hold on here. Come on. No, there we go. Can you see that?
That's cool.
Oh, where'd it go?
It's zooming in.
It disappeared.
Let me hit the thing. Oh, there we go.
That's really weird. Oh, there we go. So you can see that, both of you?
I can see it, yeah.
Yes.
Awesome. So,
Oh, there we go, yeah.
Go ahead and take a look at this image and let me know how this makes you feel. What do you see? What do you think the message is? Whatever emotions it evokes.
I think it's interesting that it's a glass bottle.
Yeah.
Yeah. But, a full glass bottle is actually really hard to break.
Yeah, that's true. And
it's just a falsehood of TV.
Right. Obviously, yeah, it's protecting the home.
It looks so warm and cozy inside the bottle, though. It looks like a beautiful sunrise or sunset.
Yep.
It just looks like super cozy.
But I also get from this that protection can be fragile too, because this is glass and glass can break eventually. So protection is not a
constant.
We have to work at that. Oh, I gotta let someone in.
Joe.
Oh, here we go. Sorry, guys. People in. There we go. Hi, Michelle.
Hello.
We're just looking at the card. Let me know if you can see it on the image. Protection.
I can see it.
Awesome. So yeah, we were just talking about what we see and what we get from this. What do you think that means? Why they use the particular image, et cetera, et cetera. We've all kind of spoke already. If you want to, oh my goodness, people are coming in. I'm so sorry. Go ahead and think about it. I have to let people in. I wish there was a way I could do this without. There's Sammy.
Yep.
Hi, Sammy.
Ooh. Well, it looks like, you've got like this bottle protecting your home.
Yeah.
Like, but I kind of feel like, in that we're kind of feeling like we're living in a glass jar. The
Yeah.
storm's outside, still a brewing.
Yep.
Like, we can't always live in a glass bubble.
Yeah.
That's what we were just saying. The protection is not always constant because the glass can break. So we should not take our protection for granted.
I look at it
Yep.
as a temporary solace.
Yeah.
I can say that, you also forget to re-up your protection and those boundaries slip and then things get in you don't want. So you got to
Yep.
remember to do those rituals are important.
Yep.
Well,
Yep.
it also has the view to me almost like it's a bottle on some water, like it's a floating message in a bottle concept.
Yeah. I like that they use that.
I got that too, but it kind of was sitting on the land portion of
Yeah.
the water, so I was a little confused.
I kind of
Yeah.
see that as like inside the bottle, you have really nice firm ground, and outside it's super shaky.
Like half of it teeter at any moment, like into that abyss of that water. It's that ocean, but it's like part of it solid.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Sammy, are you able to use your microphone? Landed on the rock. Yeah.
Yes, I can use my microphone. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. How's your trip? Where are you at right now?
We recently left Charleston, West Virginia.
Okay. Are you on the train?
Huh?
Are you on the train?
Yeah, I'm on the I'm in the middle train that's taking me to Chicago.
Nice. Chicago.
Yeah. and then from Chicago I'm gonna go. I just realized how I said that. I went to college in Ohio, so now I say certain things very Midwestern.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm going to Chicago, and then from Chicago I'm going to Seattle.
Nice.
So that one's going to be a long one, but I'll have a room for that one, so I'll be okay.
Awesome. Well, do you want to talk about the protection image here? Your 2 cents to this?
Let's see. I like that it has a cork because it's like you closed it. Like I don't know. Like we were talking about circle casting in ritual.
Yeah.
And we were talking about how like you create that sphere and it's like that total protection, and you like have to maintain the energy to do it. And like in order to put a cork in a bottle, especially if you're inside of it, you're gonna have to use force to like make that happen. You have to do the work. And if you leave a cork in too long and then you try and take it out, you'd probably break it. So you have to be able to like renew your materials and like keep practicing in order to keep your protections up, which honestly is very similar to how I feel about how anyone that I know's protections have gone. Like once they serve their purpose, they kind of break. So
you
have to do new ones. Yeah.
It's awesome that you came up with that, because it's like, it's protection, but we also notice the fragile of the
Fragile.
Fragile, you got that. I think that's fragile, honey. When but protection is fleeting and can be fragile, and we got to remember that and make sure that, like I think it was Michelle, you got to make sure you redo those protections. I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing. All right. So I got some notes, and let's go ahead and talk about, sorry. Not talk about So why is protection important in what we do? I mean, I know it's a simple question, and all of us know that, but it's still good to go over this. Why is protection important in what we do?
Because sometimes also we draw things to us that we don't mean to.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I am a psychic medium and clairvoyant and clairaudio, I have claircognizance
Yeah.
and things. And so, all my life I've had things drawn to me that I don't really want next to me
Yeah.
sometimes, or things that have frightened me.
Yep.
And so I have learned to feel the difference between what is good and what is not. And I have also been around people in my life that have decided that they've chosen to use baneful magic.
Yep.
And they have been trying to use baneful magic against me. And I have had to use protections, put
Yep.
up protections in order to protect myself from jerks
Yeah.
who
It's
don't like to follow the same laws that us Wiccans do.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it's important that we also protect ourselves not just from other practitioners, but also from the spirits that we work with and what we call into our work, because we talk about the casting of the circle is so important, but also because our words are so strong and because our actions are so strong and powerful, we have to make sure that we're not on this constant basis of being this beacon or this big lighthouse to, because we are, to spirits and all these other things. So
It can be too much all the time, and you need to allow yourself to relax and keep a balance.
I was gonna say. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, go ahead, Sammy.
I was gonna say something we've been talking a lot about in school is how, like, for protection, and I'm probably thinking of my herbalism class because we talked about protection, but for protection, like, when you do magic, it's like you're like, and you were saying this is like you're a beacon or you're a lighthouse, but it's like you're in a fishbowl and everything wants to come to you and you attract things to you. Like when we were talking about a few weeks ago, me at Starbucks being an empath, like it's not you're not just protecting yourself from things that intend to harm you. You're also protecting yourself from things that are going to harm you either way. Because, like, for example, with my empathy, like, people don't come and like overshare with me because they like want to hurt me. They're oversharing with me because they like have a lot of feelings and they feel like I'm an open person and that makes them feel safe sharing with me. That's a good thing. But I still have to protect myself and my emotions and like not allow those things to settle in me too much. Because if not, it's gonna affect my magic and therefore affect all of the things around me.
Yes, that was what I was gonna touch on, is that emotional protection that you have to have for yourself from people who are unknowingly leeching from you.
Well, yeah, and that's true, and a lot of it is people, they're not doing it on purpose the majority of the time. It's just I know people in my life that I absolutely love, and they just sometimes drain me because of their energy. They're trying to figure things out. They're a little chaotic. It doesn't make them a bad person or whatever. It just, that energy I'm sensitive to, and I have to prepare myself before. It's like preparing yourself before you go into Walmart, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
Put the shields, you know.
And really all you need is to accidentally bump into somebody too. Yeah. Because physical contact for me always adds to it. So I'm like,
Rayo, do you have your hand up?
People I don't know are gonna touch me.
Go ahead.
Agreed. Thank you. I was gonna say two things. In Reiki, you know, part of healing somebody with Reiki is kind of clearing them, you know, taking all that crap out. And protection is really important in that aspect because you don't want to take on what you're schlepping off of somebody else.
Mm-hmm.
So I know a lot of, like when I was actively practicing and, you know, working on people all the time, I had like, you know, crystals underneath the bed. And I would just slough it off into the crystals and then go bury the crystals for a week. And I would just rotate my crystals. So that was one way to take it, dump it, and then deal with it and make sure my space was clean.
Yeah.
But the other area of protection, there's just a lot when you work with energy and you become been a long day. Can you tell?
Energetically sensitive, or?
Yes, thank you.
It's okay.
You are sensitive to it around you. And I know that I have worked in many work environments. I have been in many groups where it's just like, why am I getting a headache right here? Why am I, why do I feel so oppressed? And so putting up that shield, working on your protection, having that moment to say, okay, I'm putting my barrier here, and everything clears up. And then you can think more clearly, you can look more clearly, you can assess, okay, is this personal? Is this just ambient? Is it, what's happening?
That makes so much sense. Michelle, you had your hand up. Thank you, Rehoad, for sharing that.
Yeah. I kind of have that similar, like being an empath in my younger days of being an empath and not having as many shielding mechanisms that I have now.
Yeah.
I used to find it really hard to work in environments like offices. Too many people. And when I worked in retail and there were too many people in the store at one time, I would be overwhelmed. Like,
oh yeah,
still trying to do my job, but just overwhelmed with everyone else's emotions and wondering why at the end of the day I feel like total crap. Well,
I went through that too.
I spent the whole day taking on everyone else's stuff.
Yeah.
And without knowing it, at times I was also giving my own energy and healing through touch to other people.
Yep.
And therefore draining myself without replenishing from the earth because I wasn't attuned in that way at that point.
Yeah.
And so
so true.
I've had to do a lot of work in those ways to make sure that I'm grounded, centered, protected when I go into big, busy spaces, or else I get so like frustrated and I don't like to be that frustrated.
Yeah.
We were talking about when you do a certain task, like in Rehoad's case, Reiki. One of the trainings that they do when you're getting being trained as a massage therapist or clergy or occupational therapy or mental health is how to take on other people's energy but not carry it.
Yeah.
And how you're able to get it out of them and then be able to move it on and not drag it upon yourself. And you have to really make sure that that is part of your training, or else you're not truly training.
Yeah.
If you want to go and work in one of these elements, and know that you need to learn how to get rid of it. Other people's stuff, and a little bit is going to adhere to you. It's natural.
Yeah.
But being able to drain most of it and have an outlet or a conduit or a plan on how you're going to dispose of that energy.
Yeah, it is important that we use protection, but I'm looking down and welcome, Ariel. It's awesome to see you.
Thank you. Yeah.
Yay. I just happened to glance down at here where it says, oh, that's for divination. We'll talk about that. We'll talk about that later. Anyone else want to add anything about why, we protect ourselves because of obviously different things that are coming at us as witches? And one of the common ones, Ariel, that we just all talked about was as empaths, which a lot of us witches are, take on other people's energy. And I was going to say, when Michelle was talking about working in retail or working with the people, I worked at the mall, and I used to think I hate malls, but there's so much that assaults my senses when I'm at a mall. And it's not visually, it's energetically, it's even like the lighting of malls is too much for me. And to me, it's like walking into a bright white, like glaring waiting room of just sick people. I know that but that's what I feel like I've just done. And I'm like, oh, I'm sick now. And then I take on whatever it is.
That's for me.
What?
Not much the mall, but Walmart.
Yes,
Yep.
We were just talking about how it's important to put a protection to go to Walmart. Rayo, how do you have your hand up?
I do. I have just a funny story, if I can share for a second, about protection. When I was a lowly student, it was I was given the task of creating a barrier for my interior to the outside world. So if somebody was psychically attacking me, there had to be a protection there.
Mm-hmm.
And I am so literal, okay? I'm like way literal. Like if you go, oh, hey, this animal has spots and wings, I'll be like, whoa, really? Okay, I'm like way literal. So I created, I love labyrinths. I'm a labyrinth maker.
Oh, nice.
And so I created this drew out this elaborate labyrinth that I was going to memorize that somebody would be locked into until I released them. So if they tried to assault my brain, right, they tried to assault my psychic, they would get locked in this labyrinth and just keep wandering until I released them.
Yeah.
Because the labyrinth had no end.
Wow.
It was a you know, a labyrinth that just, it didn't have an out.
Yeah.
And so I spent weeks, right, drawing this elaborate labyrinth and then memorizing, you know, with triggers. Okay, here's the fountain, here's the tree, here's the flower bed, here, you know, all these different keys, right? And my instructors were so funny. My high priestesses were like, really cool, but you can't really steal people's psyches that way. That's not cool. And you really don't want to be carrying them around.
Yeah.
We don't really want you to do this. Too funny. Like, oh, okay, I got it. I'll do something else. Too funny.
That's really funny. But that is a common thing of you know, that brings up protection versus binding.
Yep.
Right? Binding, I feel, and I would love your guys' opinion on this, because I think I've only done 1 or 2 bindings in my witchy life, and I'm not a fan of it for me personally, because I don't work with it enough, and I know that it's very powerful. And I think I did unknowingly bind people, and it kind of backfired. So, but I would love to hear, do you guys think protection and binding are the same? Does binding go into the category of protection? Wouldn't you just use binding for protection? And
No.
these are just questions. What do you think?
Not for bindings, because in theory, no protection. But if you're binding someone to be stuck somewhere, or not to gain happiness, or whatever, you know, ill intent that you've caused with your binding.
But binding doesn't always have to be ill intent. That's the thing, is there you can do binding.
If someone is self-inflicting pain, if they're hurting themselves, if they're doing stuff like that, you can bind them from doing harm, including to themselves.
But some people say that that's still manipulating
their free will.
And that's why we're talking about protection versus binding. I have talked to a lot of witches that use binding.
Well, see, that's the difference between Wiccans and witches.
Yeah.
Okay, a Wiccan says, and thou shalt do no harm. So you can't bind somebody against their will, even if you're binding for their protection. Yeah. As a witch, you know, so instead of binding, one of my I learned a way to freeze somebody. So it's temporary, and you stick a piece of whatever into the freezer and you just freeze it. So it's a kind of a funky binding. But it's like, if you're not giving them help in your attempt to stop them from doing harm, are you really helping?
Well, and that's where the dilemma comes. Like, what, and that is very good food for thought. I've got some hands up. Michelle, what do you tell us what you think or what you know about this? Or again, all opinions are welcome. No, there are no wrong answers. This is how we learn from each other. So just keep that in mind. I don't want anyone to worry about, well, I do it because of this. Well, you shouldn't do it. I don't want that, because we're all here to learn. Yes, Michelle, sorry.
In my experience with binding, we had permission from the person that we were binding, because he was literally psychically, vampirically feeding off of people in his own sleep. Mm-hmm. So me and two, it was me and 3 other people did the binding, but in the wording, it wasn't specified the exact way. And if you're not specific, you will bind yourself to the people that you did that binding with.
Yep. Yep.
As well as that person. And we turned out that these people were into some Luciferian worship and were working with demonic energies. And they weren't the greatest of people, and they were using that binding that they did with us to do harm. And so we had to do a ritual cutting to cut the binds. And it's actually recommended by one of my elders that I had before that you do like a ritual cutting just every quarter at least, just to cut the energy ties that no longer serve you.
Yeah. Oh yeah, and that's
one of those protective measures that keep those people who are around you that you don't realize, who may touch your life in little ways but then leave, but they might still have that little cord that they're feeding from you in some way.
We did, and I'll get to you in just a sec, Shawnee, but that just brought up something. Me and a few other girls did a cutting a cord ceremony with someone, but it wasn't about it was about releasing the hurt that person left with us, and it was almost a way of just releasing that and letting this person just go on with their life and whatever path they have to be on. But we were holding on to something that was hurting us. You know what I'm talking about. And so the opposite of binding is the cutting, which again, it's still a version. It's still a form of protection. Who was next?
Shawnee was next.
Shawnee?
Me. I just put my hand down because you'd already said my name.
No, that's fine.
No, I basically agree with you guys. I've never played with it because I'm of the same mind. If we are taught not to do magic, if somebody doesn't give us permission, binding is magic on somebody, right? So without their permission, period, you shouldn't do it. Because, our basis says, do not do magic on somebody who's not giving you their permission.
Yeah.
Anyway, so it kind of breaks that base law. So I've never played with any of that and I've never done anybody I know because, again, like you said, there are some things I've never tried as a solo practitioner. It sounds a little too scary by myself.
Yeah, and exactly, and and I was taught by.
But I never knew about the cutting because I've never played with things like that. So that's really interesting with the permission part that she was talking about before. Yeah. That they did it with permission and then it ended up being like a leech for someone else. See, now I'm really glad I never played with it because I would have never known that.
These are very valid points, but I also want to say, I'm not pro or against binding. I just personally don't know enough about it to do it. But I was also taught that we have a right to protect ourselves.
Absolutely.
And sometimes binding is a really valuable way to protect yourself from people that are really trying to hurt you, and you can word it in a way that is not going to put any control over them. I know it sounds like because you're binding them, but there's a way to do it, and I was taught it, and
it sounds more like maybe a banishing versus a binding.
It could be, yeah.
Because like I've done a couple very mild like banishing, like I'm not trying to go against your free will, but like please stay away.
Yeah.
Like just your energy is super bad here, and we would really appreciate it if it's not here. So just like some really basic stuff. And I never considered that a binding. I wasn't trying to do it for them. I was doing it for me. Same as you would put up a no trespassing sign.
Exactly.
Like
yes.
So. Yeah, so and that's where you get in it. Which is it, right? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
and it. Yeah. But it's all. I think it's a form of protection, and I know people who have used it, and it works very well. And it's if you know what you're doing, and you're not, hopefully not hurting yourself or hurting others. And again, that is a Wiccan. That's a Wiccan thing. There is, and Rayohad did bring up, there is a difference between Wiccan witches and witches who are not Wiccan. But that's for another discussion. I'm going to call on the people Sammy, go ahead.
Sorry, the guy's giving an announcement.
Okay, we'll come back to you. Michelle, your hand was up. Did you want to say something?
Oh, I was going to say sometimes I use things to like bind an object. Like if I did a mirror and I wanted to bind the energy that came into that object into the object. I didn't want it escaping from the object. I wanted it to bind from the object back to its sender. I didn't want it to come out of that protection into my space. So I bound the energy in the object.
Yeah.
So I'll use a binding in that way. But you have to word I've used bindings in other ways, but very, very specifically. But never against a specific person when I've done them, other than that one time that I had that permission that backfired anyway.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And that, sometimes you gotta be a chess player of sorts when you're thinking about how what is the butterfly effect on what we put out there? Because there are so many things that could go wrong and so many things that could go right.
I could say I bind all negativity coming to me to this rock and plant the rock into the earth to be transmuted.
There you go.
I like that.
That's awesome. A positive form of binding that's protective, that works. I bind the energy that comes to me to this protective jar that I've buried in my garden. Please transmute it. So whatever object you're doing, you bind it to the object, not to the person.
Yeah, so it's an interesting concept to me because I always think bindings of being done to people. But
you can bind with
same
here. Object. Yeah. That's
yeah.
Yeah.
I love it.
So when we do box. When we do our and Sammy, when you're ready to talk, we'll go back to what you want to talk about. Just raise your hand. When we cast our circle, there's a big part in there that, well, it depends on how you cast a circle because people cast differently. But there's a part, I conjure you a circle of power, that you be a boundary between the world of humanity and the realms of the mighty ones, a guardian and a protection to preserve and contain the power that we shall raise herein. So that's a big, that's a big part of the magic that we do in a group, whether it's by yourself or in a group, but you still need to set some sort of boundaries or protection because, again, unless you are ready to face those things, because I know there's people that like a lot of chaos magicians I've brought up in the past, and I'm not downing chaos magicians. I enjoy listening to. I'm in a group on Facebook of chaos magicians because I love the way they think sometimes, and I'm like, that's a really different way to look at things. I'm very open to that stuff. I don't practice chaos magic, but it doesn't mean I poo-poo on it or anything. Ceremonial magicians use a lot of bringing in. They do set up boundaries, but they're a little more open with when it comes to doing something for their bidding or whatever you want to call it. I hate using the word bidding, but in a way, we're witches. We work in the occult. We need to know there are other occult practices out there that we may not agree with, but they do that.
Yep.
If that's what they use, they call in whatever they can to bid for them or to protect them. And they're ready to face those consequences of what that will do. They are willing to take that.
And a frequent thing that we forget about is bindings or puppets.
Well, yeah, when you use, well, not really. That's
because it's being representative of a person, because the most famous of all puppets, voodoo dolls.
A voodoo doll.
And that would definitely be a binding because you're putting.
It's a form of making things stop working.
Yeah.
But you also can use it in healing too.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
You've got your healing puppets. And again, I know Reiki masters that do distance Reiki with puppets, and they're big on permission. Someone says, I need to do healing. May I use my healing puppet? Blah, 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 blah. So permission, consent is a big thing that we talk a lot about, especially in the Wiccan path. Those are important things. But yeah, we do protect. We have to set some sort of protection, and make sure also with the protection that you're doing that you are not living in a shielded way for too long. There should be some balance, don't protect yourself to the point where
don't live in a bubble.
Yes, exactly. You do. we do need to, face our fears, so don't protect yourself from every bad thing that could possibly happen because you're doing yourself a disservice. So there's got to be you're not going to learn if you face some of those rough times in life. Shit happens. It's always going to happen. It's how we deal with it. And maybe we'll learn, oh, I could have protected myself from that. Now I know. Anything else that anyone wants to add before we do? Rayahad, yes.
Going back to don't protect yourself too well. We moved into an RV and we completely remodeled it, ripped up the subfloor and everything, right? So as we were putting the new subfloor in, I created a really powerful protection sigil.
Mm-hmm.
So I've been working with runes forever. I'm like, fine. So I did a rune, a combination of runes. Well, it was great. It worked very, very well. But it also absolutely prevented me from doing any magic in the rig.
You made it a no void, huh?
You just made it like
nothing shall get in. We're going to be fine. We're going to be protected. Nothing can happen. Nothing negative can approach us. I mean, it was just like, but every time I tried to medit, every time I tried to spirit journey, every time I tried to do something, it was like, nope, not happening.
Wow. So there you have it too. It affects you. It can really affect you. So make sure to use the balance of protection, but not use it as an excuse not to live life. Because I know there's people that do that whether you're a witch or a non-witch or whatever, that's just being afraid of living, Anyone else want to say anything before I'm going to go ahead and do a divination, the divination part?
So did you see what? Oh, go ahead, Sam.
I'm gonna try and jump in quiet, and hopefully no one yells at me. But okay. so what I wanted to say was I thought that it would be helpful also for us to talk about when people use like protection magic that like bounces off and returns to sender. Mm-hmm. Or like versus like grounding, because a lot of the time those kinds of like return to senders things can really backfire on you, because like the person thinks that you're attacking them back, and then like it becomes a whole thing.
Well, it depends if you are one that practices believing in karma. Also, because I'm a firm believer that karma will take care of it. Mm-hmm. But sometimes you want it right now, and you don't want to wait to the next lifetime.
And you want to see what it is, where there could be something else going on that
we're not aware of.
That's getting them elsewhere.
That's what I tell people, because someone was like saying, what do we got? I heard a beep.
That was not a beep.
Oh, I thought that was a beep. I can barely hear who's talking.
Oh, that was me. Sorry, my mic is.
Oh, that's okay. That's okay. I was like, what is that?
No, I used a protection back mirror only for the fact that I was trying to trace who exactly was doing it, and it worked in my favor, because they wrote me a threatening letter the next day saying, you did this. And I was like, no, I didn't. And they're like, yes, you did. We know you did. And as of 3 a.m., your boundaries are down. But somebody had been messing with my yard every day for 2 weeks, throwing stuff in my yard and putting rusty sticks and pouring stuff on my plants and doing negative magic in my yard.
Yeah.
And so I wanted to trace it back. And therefore, I used that specific charm to trace it back.
And again, I was
They
always
can work
taught,
that way.
I was always taught that we do have a right as witches to protect ourselves. So just if we're not careful, it could backfire. If we're comfortable with a backfire, then be comfortable with a backfire. It's just how it is. It's, I'm looking at people's comments. Protection magic, consent. Yeah. Thought forms. Those can be binding too. Oh yeah. Thought forms is another one. I've worked with thought forms. What?
Burials.
A type of binding. When we bind the belt,
Yep.
when we do a hand fasting,
Yep.
we do bind.
Yep.
Yeah, that's a good
Although
point,
it's
Ariel.
consent.
But
It's consented, but it's a binding.
It's a binding. Yeah, we're binding people to each other,
Right.
and so to speak.
You're literally binding them.
So let's go ahead. You're going to go to Madame Zola's. I go into my alter ego, and you come to Madame Zola, and you're like, I need a 1-card draw that represents me right now, as of today. And you get this card. You get the protection card. Let's go ahead and raise our hands because that seems to work really good, and we can go through quicker too to keep within the time. So raise your hand and tell me, what do you think that means? If you got this today. Michelle, go ahead.
There may be storms on the horizon outside, but inside my home, there's a safe place for my family based on everything else going on in the crazy world today.
I like that. I don't know if it shows it in order, but I'm just going to go down the list. So I don't know. Ariel, your hands up.
So if I got that card, I would think that either myself or someone I love and care about needs protection in some way.
Very good. I like that. How about you, Sammy?
I think if it were in my particular circumstance right now, it would be that my protection is working, and that the work that I'm putting in to make sure that my travel is safe and
that's what I was thinking.
Is sound. Yeah, because that's I've been doing a lot of stuff. Those of you who have been following me, I did like a little Hermes altar for the trip. Yeah.
Which is amazing. And I was thinking of this card for you to really hit home, Sammy, because I just you're so brave to travel across by yourself the United States. I wouldn't even do that. I just, there's no way. So you're doing something good. And we're always sending you that protection too. Shawnee.
So for me, if I got this, that looks like the inside of my mind. Yeah. I have to remember that this body is fragile, and sometimes I have to protect myself from myself because I get to doing a little too much. Yeah, it's going a little too crazy.
Oh yeah.
So, and I forget this is a fragile being. You gotta take care of this.
Yep, so. That's good. It's true. It's good to protect ourselves just from ourselves. I can be my own worst enemy.
And those negative thoughts that can creep into that happy place you finally made, like that's why I said it looks like the inside of my mind.
Yeah.
Just all those dark stormies just waiting to break into that little solace I've created.
Yep.
So.
Absolutely. Anyone else want to take a jab? If you got this card today, what would it mean? Rayohad?
I think if I got that card today, it would be a reminder to not take what I have for granted, that everything we have is temporary and that we need to remember that and acknowledge that, and then do whatever work is necessary to ensure that we are safeguarding what we want to safeguard. That we're not being like, oh no, everything is fine, my house is fine, my job is fine, everything is fine. It's a reminder to put a little bit more attention into the things that you need for your day-to-day, that you need for your, what are you neglecting that you should be kind of working on right now? just to make sure that that protection stays a nice, solid, old glass and not, shatter at the next lightning bolt.
Yep, I agree. When I see this card for me today, I think it's just I kind of agree with what Shawnee said. For me, don't take on too much. You know, self-care, protect myself. Protecting myself is self-care. That's a big one, especially today. And again, I wanted to point out, in case you guys missed in the beginning, that's the day after my second vaccine. I'm exhausted right now, but I wanted to be with you guys. But at the same time, that's a hard thing for me to do. I can take time off and let my husband teach it, but I really miss everyone. But my husband can teach it and I can rest, but I really want to see everyone. And this has been great, but I'm so tired. So if I feel like I'm cutting you off or rushing, it's because I'm really tired and my arm is sore and I have a headache. But I love you all, and that's why I'm here. So yeah, I need to work on that a lot. I need to work on being, taking care of myself, protecting myself. You?
Mine's gonna be a little different.
You're always a little different.
I am always a little different. When I look at it, I see safety in the bottle, which has a different metaphor for me because I actually sell bottled beverages for a living.
He does.
So if I was thinking about maybe going elsewhere, remind myself that, be comfortable with where I'm at.
So yours took a
Yeah.
I like that. I like how your brain went, this really applies to me in this way. And that's why Madame Zola's card readings are so popular. All right. So I'm going to share the image in the chat.
Click on that one.
No, I'm trying to find the chat first.
Okay.
All right. They are very personalized, yes. And share. Every time I say share, I want to do my impression of share. But I won't right now.
And you usually do for me.
I do. And I know that I'll
And there it is.
Yes, I knew it.
Because I know that I am strong. I don't need you anymore. Okay. All right. And that's my impression of Cher. That is the only impression I can do, and it's that song only. Don't ask why. It just is.
Lola, I was gonna say you didn't read it in the accent like I did in my head. They are very personalized. Yes.
Yes. I love that. All right, so go ahead and grab the image however you can. Did I send it? No.
Nope.
And there we go. Do you guys see the image in the chat?
I see it.
So you should be able to either right click on it and download it.
Click the three dots.
Click the three dots when you hover, I believe, and that should bring something up. No, it doesn't. No wonder people. I think if you right click.
I think it's different for us because we posted it.
Yeah, however you can. If you did not get it, please put your email in the chat and I will email you the image because I do remove the image from the chat when we're done with the call. So only the people who attend get it. I'm sure other people have figured out ways to screenshot it on the videos.
Crop it.
Yeah, whatever, but
so
I'm just making attempts at Golden Grove. Never mind. I'm not going to talk anymore. So, yes, I am. I'm going to talk right now. So yeah, make sure you put your email address if you did not get it. And I am now going to put this in the chat. Did it go? Didn't even go. There we go.
It went.
And all right. If we have helped facilitate a spiritual experience for you today, please consider donating to Children of the Crossroads ATC to help fund events like this. Your gifts of any amount are greatly appreciated, and donations may be tax deductible, as Children of the Crossroads ATC is a 501c3 nonprofit. And you can make your donations to, we have PayPal and Venmo. Again, not a requirement. And next week we'll meet same bat time, same bat channel, and we are going to be talking about the athame. And I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording.
Before we do, Rayohad, what have we drawn for us?
Oh, are you done? Or what have you got so far? You can show. You're on mute. Ooh. Oh, yeah.
Very cool.
That's really awesome. I love that. Definitely share that on the Children of the Crossroads Facebook group. All right. And I'm going to stop the recording. Say bye to the recording. Bye, recording.